Welcome to another episode of Top 5 Live. Oh, okay, good. For the little icon there to show if anybody's watching. Because if you all remember last week, it wasn't the greatest time.
Wasn't
I
fun.
Stokes, as always, creator of Heat, Strong, and owner of Visually Stoked Media. And this guy over here, hey, I did it right, is Jamari Stokes, educator of young minds, corrupter of young minds as well. And this is a Stoked podcast. And this is going to be a fun one. I've been on this gentleman's show. This is the introduction because I want to get him in here. I've been on this gentleman's show before. I harass him during shows when I'm not on in the comment section. He is the creator of 5 Star, of FSK Comics. He is a very intelligent, very passionate gentleman who loves comic books, which is why we get along so well. And I'm so looking forward to the show because he's been making fun of me because he ain't been on this show. I make fun of him because I haven't been on his show. And so we just gonna squat. We gonna get it going. Y'all welcome the one and only Tony Klapper.
Yo, what is up? What is up? What's happening?
What's good, man? What's good?
Man, it's nice to finally be invited, man. Feels good to finally be invited on the show, man.
This man acted like This man acted like I didn't invite him a long time ago, but that's all.
36 episodes.
We know how it is. We know how.
Well, you know, we had to get it right before you come on. So now,
hey, I appreciate it either way, man.
And but we welcome to a Stoked podcast.
Thank you.
Now, for those that don't know, Tony is a writer, creator, podcaster, host, interviewer. Yep. I mean, you're all over the social media and independent creative site, which I've always admired. You know, you're always hustling. You're always doing something.
I try, man. I try to keep. I call it that Thanksgiving plate. You know, you got your regular plates, but then you go around Thanksgiving time, you get them big old plates, and you just, we eating out here. We're trying to stay as busy as we can, man. Trying to not busy. I don't like the word busy because busy people sound scattered. Productive. We try to stay productive out here.
I feel you. You want that? What is it? Low vibration plate? Is that what they call
it? yeah. Yep.
You have that low vibration plate. I'm looking forward to that low vibration plate. Like real talk, man. We only a month out?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it about a month out? Look,
it's about a month out, bro. This year has flown, bro. This year has flown by.
I don't even remember what I did for New Year's. This is or whatever. We're jumping off. We'll get in there.
Let's be real. 2020 and 2021, those years dragged so hard.
They like merged into each other because
they did.
COVID.
Yeah.
They might as well have just been one long year.
It was like with everybody being in lockdown. It was just one long year, and then it seems like we out. It's true. They say time flies when you're having fun. We all know what it was like when we wasn't having fun.
You know what though? Real talk. Before we get into everything else, the COVID lockdown wasn't as bad for me because it's like 5 of us in the house. Like I got my 3-year-old son, I got my teenage daughters, my wife, and we all in here. So something's always being done. Yeah. Like it was very rarely like boring, and so it wasn't really boring.
Yeah.
So it's not that it didn't fly. And it's not that we won because we tried to do stuff like game nights and we have a pool. So when the summer came, it was like that was the most we'd been. That was the most we'd been in the pool since we got it. It was just like we got something to do. But anyway,
I have a funny feeling that people are going to have some sort of nostalgia for it after a while. People will start talking about. I think there will be people that will retcon it in their brains.
I'm not one of those people.
I work in healthcare, so I didn't get to. I still had to go to work every day, so
Oof,
I didn't. I was in the thick of it out there.
That's rough. Because I used to work in healthcare, and I think about that. Like, if I was still working in healthcare, I'd had to come out to work. That does suck. But we're gonna get into you today. This is about Tony Klapper today. So, as always, we're gonna start it off with our traditional question. You are in the comic book industry.
Yep.
What drew you? Where did your love of comics begin?
My love of comics came from, and this I'm not gonna. This is the crazy memory that I have at my grandmother's house. She had this coloring book called Total Justice, and it was like all the DC characters in like obscure costumes, and I loved going over there and coloring in that coloring book, right? And from the love of, and I would take my paper and trace over them little outlines of them superheroes and make my own. And from there, it kind of jumped off. Like I was heavy in, then I got into like the Spider-Man animated series, X-Men animated series, and then after watching the cartoons, because I'm a '90s baby, so the cartoons drew me in, and then it was the comic books after that. So
that's where it came from. I find that most of the people who grew up in the '90s, their entrance in the comics wasn't actually comics. It was the cartoons. Like,
right.
It's amazing how much of an influence those comics had. I mean, those cartoons had on future comic book readers.
And so there was a lot of content that was being made back then.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the generations that are growing up with the movies, and then the movies are getting them into comics. It's like you had in the early '90s, you had the cartoons that were popping. I mean, think about it, you had Batman animated series, Superman animated series, like all these really great cartoons.
Then you had the more obscure ones, like Wildcats had a show, Ultra Force had a show.
That's right. Savage Dragon had a show.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had all of the Max.
Wow. I haven't thought about that in a minute. Wow.
Yeah.
Then you go into like Justice League Unlimited. That's kind of later on. Yep. Static Shock was hot cartoon. I mean, so yeah, you got a whole generation right there who kind of cartoons is what reeled them in. I'm on the.
If DC wants their Black Panther moment, they need to make a Static Shock movie.
DC ain't making much right now.
Nah.
What? So you got into comics through cartoons and everything like that. We'll get into like your favorite comics later. But what made you want to go from being a fan to being in the industry writing, like comic book writing? What drew you to do that, and how did you get to? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, like I was always tracing the little characters, making my own characters. I've always been a storyteller in here. For a while, I was in the music game. I was in the hip hop game for a little bit, and it came to a point where I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get to this. And the only reason I started the music game is because I had people that was interested in doing music. It was never a passion of mine. But I was like, man, I can go and invest in this laptop and this mic, and I can get my people on. And then I started rapping, and I kind of, got into it. But then I got to the point where I'm like, man, let me do what I like to do. I got all these little notebooks of all these little stories that I've been telling. Let me get into that. So 2016, I kind of started. That's when I started. I started dabbling in it, started doing it, started learning. I came in like not knowing anybody, not knowing nothing, not knowing the way the game worked at all. Had my first book come out in 2017. Super learning curve step, you know what I mean? And from there, man, I just started clicking and learning from other people and watching other people and seeing what they was doing, and here we are now. You know what I mean? Like, I just knew, I was like, I want to get these stories out. Like, I want to tell stories. I want to tell my stories. I want to tell stuff that, that brings me to that place. I love that Saturday morning cartoon vibe. I just love everything about like that. I wanted to tell stories that represented that. So,
I mean, it's amazing that you literally you had nothing about it, and you still made it to where you are. Like you hear that story, but
I was crazy. Bro. I mean, I was like, I didn't know. I ain't never even been to a con up to that point, bro.
Really?
I didn't know nothing. I was a fish out the water, bro. All I knew is I love the comic books. I love action figures, and I love telling stories. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this. So I just jumped in, and I by myself. I started put like my first the artist I got into like Facebook groups like ICC, just little groups like that. Put a little ad out like looking for an artist. First time ever working with an artist, and 5-star one came together.
Okay, so let's talk about Mr. 5-star.
Okay, there he is.
Let's talk about Mr. 5-star. You tell us about the creative process behind the creation of the character?
Yeah. So 5-star Kevin Terry, if you take the first name, Kevin and Terry, he's based off of two people I know in real life. Two real life mentors of mine. Both of them, Kevin Aldridge, Terry Shores, are people who fight in their community every day. They fight for the youth of their community. They're out there, working with the kids. They're out there doing things. And our neighborhood's not the best. They got degrees. They could have went anywhere they wanted to go with them degrees, but they decided to come back and pour into their own community. And there's tons of unsung heroes out there that are out there doing that, right? Pouring into these communities, trying to invest in these communities. They don't always get the recognition they deserve. A lot of the time they get flack for it. It's tough, but day in and day out, they push through that to try to make a difference. And I wanted the character that represented that. So when I first created 5-star, the idea of 5-star, it was just an idea of like how I wanted a character to be. But then I was like, I wanted to mean something. So when that clicked, it was automatic for me to base the character off of real people that I thought were heroes in real life. These are two people that I think are heroes, that I see as heroes out here doing things. So I was like, that means something to me. So I want to put this in this book. So that's where the inspiration for Kevin Terry came from.
All right, go ahead, Jamari. I got a question, but go ahead.
So if I'm standing at your booth, what's the pitch for this comic? Because I'm loving the art on this and everything, and you clearly it sounds like there's some activism involved in this storyline, possibly based on what your inspiration.
So with 5-star, like I said, because I'm part of FSK, which is it's a superhero universe, and when I'm at cons, we have this all displayed out. So with 5-star, he is diagnosed with cancer. Kevin Terry is diagnosed with cancer. He gets cured from the cancer, but in that his friend loses his life, right? So he feels like he has to do something with these powers. His identity is known, so he has like celebrities that want to invite him to parties. He has people wanting to take selfies with him. He's trying not to get caught up in all that and stick to his moral code. Well, he's also the rookie in this already established universe, kind of like myself as a writer. That was a big part for me. Coming in, I'm a rookie. I don't know nothing in the comic book world. Neither does Kevin Terry. He don't know nothing about this. He's just trying to find out who he is and the mark that he can make in this FSK world, same as me. So he's trying to stick to that moral code, stick to who he is, and not get caught up in the fortune and fame that's trying to come along with it.
Okay, what you got to tell us the powers, man. You got to tell us the powers, man. Talk to us like we novice.
Oh, okay. So 5-star, his powers is he's able to absorb the natural energies around him. When he absorbs those energies, he can do what he wants with those. So they're gonna keep him protected. He's not invulnerable. You know what I mean? People can get a cheap shot off on him. You know what I mean? But he's able to heal himself with these energies, and he's able to use these energies to like energy ores, shoot energy blast. That was like the original thing I knew I wanted with my character before I got into the Kevin Terry part. I'm like, I want a character that if pushed enough, he could go toe to toe with a Superman, but he also is like vulnerable. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I wanted that. And so you got that's the thing about creating, right? You got the power. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is kind of what but if you want a really good superhero, you got to think more into that and who is the person out of the costume. So that's where I wanted to really take time and put my thought into that. What makes this person this person? Because those are the most relatable stories, right? I mean, for me anyway, for everybody, I'm sure.
No, you're right. A lot of people, when I talk to people at cons and stuff, when they're talking about comics they want to do, they're so focused on like the powers and can this character beat Batman or can this character
Yeah,
beat
you get that
Superman?
so much.
Oh my gosh!
Can he beat this person? Can he beat that person?
Can he
It's
beat
like,
Goku?
man,
Yeah.
would you hang out with him? That's my thing. Like,
Yeah,
is this somebody I can hang out with? Is this some, you know what I mean? That's what I've always loved about like Peter Parker. Like, Peter Parker's a real dude. Like, you relate with Peter Parker, right? You relate with Virgil, Static Shock. Like, you relate with them characters. Like, you're like, these dudes got everyday real ass lives. Like, and they're out trying to still save the world and do this stuff. Like, that's what's relatable. That's what makes the characters fun.
Were those characters the inspiration behind 5-Star? Are there any particular characters that inspired you, like that influenced you when you were creating the character?
A big one is Green Lantern, John Stewart. And after I tell people that, and they think of the costume, they're like, "I see that." Green, you know what I mean? Justice League.
Hey, you preach it to the choir, man. You preach it to the choir, man. This my hero.
Yeah.
John all day.
Yeah, John Stewart was huge. From Justice League Unlimited, that cartoon was just so over the top. It doesn't get enough credit it deserves. Just how dope of a cartoon that was, and just how much they hit on in that cartoon. And that was my favorite character on the show, man. So yeah, the inspiration heavy there. Static Shock in a way too. Other than that, not really any other characters besides, like I said, the two people in real life that I based the character on.
I really like the themes of not. It sounds like you're dealing with the themes of him not getting involved in things outside of his mission and his focus.
Yeah,
and that being a part of being a struggle. Is that something that what's one of what is there a particular storyline or something that inspired a storyline that really drove that theme home?
I think the theme really came just from actually not really a storyline, just like I said, like my own like things personal to me. Like, so often we tend to think that we have a vision of what we want to do, but we let things steer us off of that course, or we get tied up in just some nonsense that kind of takes us off of that course. And I think, like I said, even before FSK, I had an established universe that 5-Star would have went into. When I signed with FSK, we decided to kind of do away with what my universe was kind of planned and merge him in the Freestyle Comics universe. So either way, he was coming into an established universe. And I took like I said, that from me, like I'm coming into this established comic book world that's got tons of creators, tons of stuff going on. How do I stick to what I want to do and not get caught up in everything else and not get lost in everything else or fall into getting information from the wrong people or, not have my guard up so much that I don't miss out on good information from people who are being genuine. You know what I'm saying? I think we get caught up in that a lot anytime we're trying to do something because, we hold these things to our chest. These are our babies. We're creating these projects and it's like, do I let that person in? Do I not let that person in? Is that person, can I trust him? Can I not trust him? And you don't want to miss, a potential like really getting a second to learn something because you put that wall up. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where the things come from. It's like it's just my own kind of journey into it.
Yeah, it's just I really do. I can empathize with that because when it's like any industry, like there's a lot of people when you get in, they're telling you stuff.
Yeah,
and
everybody's like, telling you.
How do you sift through the bull and pick the nuggets out? Because and it's all the source always matters too. So it's really interesting hearing it. From your point of view, I always find it interesting, like when I talk to like Morgan, who was not into comics at all and then just jumped in and, his perspective. And so to hear your perspective, which is a little different because you had your baby toes in, you still jumped in full force. How did you get hooked up with FSK?
So I can remember going to my first con, and I'm walking up and I see, and at this point I kind of like you. This is when I started getting into the tribe, so to say, of indie comics, where you're kind of doing stuff and you see online what other people are doing. You might not be the best of friends, but you kind of know what people have going on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And at that point, I was with a small publisher called Crazy Monkey Inc., who really kind of saved me at a time, because there was a time where it was frustration. When you first hopping in, you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have got to where I'm at now. But I can remember going, and I kind of knew I kind of knew about Michael Watson, and I seen a showcase where they were showcasing him on the wall, and I was like, they had like a promo because it was in Columbus, and he's from Columbus, so he had like a where he was doing a panel, so they had like a thing, and I can remember being excited, like oh, I know I talked to this dude online, you know what I'm saying? Like I thought it was such a cool thing then, and I met Mike that day. He was cool, he seemed like he was a cool dude. Fast forward, he's with Short Fuse at the time, and I've reached out to Sean at times to kind of help me with stuff. Sean hits me up one day and he's like, yo, Michael asked me to ask you, why aren't you with us? And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like you vibe out with everybody. You're already connected with everybody. Like, why aren't you with us? I'm like, I guess because I've never been asked. Like, nobody's ever asked me if I wanted to be a part. So I jump in with Short Fuse. I'm with Short Fuse at the end of their run, kind of. All of a sudden, it was like, no more Short Fuse. And I didn't even get to publish I was on issue 3 of 5 Star at that point, and I was getting ready to drop number 4 under Short Fuse, and then it was like Sean kind of dropped the mic, said that he was retiring from comics, and everybody was like, "What? Short Fuse is over with. What's going on with this?" Danny and Morgan were in there too.
Oh yeah, and, I've heard their point of this.
Yeah, so it's like, dang, what do I do? You know what I mean? I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, I just have to get back to my hustle, my grind. It is what it is. Mike hit me up instantly off after this. We had like a Zoom call where Mike kind of told us all, y'all out of your contracts, yada yada. I happened to be out with the family, so I hung up on the Zoom call. Mike thought I was upset. He calls me. He's like, man, you seem like you was upset. I'm like, no, I'm out with the fam, And he's like, well, don't be too upset because I want you to join Freestyle Comics if you want to.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it makes the most sense. I remember being when I started Short Fuse, I thought I could still be under that FSK branch because I'm in Ohio already. This dude lives an hour and 30 minutes away from me. I've already connected with like Danny and Danny Cooper. I'm like, this just makes the most sense. So he was like, join us, man. We'll figure out a way to make it work. We got in the lab. I kind of explained like what my universe was like, what 5 Star was like, how could we fit it in that FSK universe. We got together and brainstormed it all out, and here I am, man. I feel like I'm at home. You know what I mean? I'm actually at a place where like I feel I'm at home. Like me and Mike have a strong relationship. In comics, out of comics. I was just at his house last weekend, grilling out. So
I mean that's beautiful, man. It's nice if you can find a community. You can find, and sure. Like you said, tribal, because there is a bit of tribalism, like especially in indie comics.
The indie comics is definitely a tribe. It's definitely a tribe, man. And you got maybe other little tribes that are doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like what everybody knows, like what everybody's got going on, and but it can be toxic at times if you let it. There's certain elements or certain people that'll. But like I feel like if you hone in on really like the core, like people for the most part try to support one another.
It's like a rabbit hole though. It really is like a rabbit hole. Like because I find myself, because I was over here doing my thing. Like Jamari can attest to this. I was over here doing this stuff by myself, and I believe I came across. I believe my introduction to this was Greg and Why did I forget his name? I forgot his last name. From Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh yeah.
When I met those guys,
yeah.
Then it was like, okay, I met them. Then I became friends with them on Facebook, and then through them I met, and it was just like, and then it was just like
started falling into place.
Right, it's like so many people, so it's so easy to because once you become friends with like one person on Facebook, especially once I started doing the top 5 stuff.
Yeah,
the top 5 stuff was like
a game changer.
Yeah, it was like an avalanche, and then doing this one, like the doors just swung open.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing how, like, hearing it from you, like, you know, because you haven't even gone over like your podcast stuff, like just from like one association.
Boom.
Just
boom. Yeah, it's how it happens. And then even with the podcast thing, if you don't mind me just jumping into it.
Go ahead. I was gonna ask.
That was one of the greatest things that came out of the pandemic, right? All of a sudden you have this podcast boom. Yeah, everybody's doing podcasts. We've kind of faded away to where like it's like the people that were into it are still doing it, and some of them have faded out, right? But like all of a sudden, we have created this network to where if you know you got a Kickstarter, you know about 10 podcasts you can jump on to promote that Kickstarter, right?
You're right, yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. Like people, like we came together on that. Like you got a podcast? Bet. Can I get on it at this date because I got this going on? You go on to the next one. Like I remember earlier this year when I did the 5-star 1 Kickstarter, I had like 10 shows lined up just because of this thing that we've created.
Yeah.
And that's where you really get to know people, right? You have a guest on your show, I don't know. And all of a sudden we're linking up.
Right.
Like, that's just how like I think I kind of met you kind of through the podcast.
I met you through top 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just another outlet. It's just a beautiful thing that we were able to do that. Like
you can't give Javon too many props. It'll blow his head up.
Right, man. I'm just saying, it's a beautiful thing.
It's kind of hard to blow my head up anymore.
That we're at a place now to where, you know, we have all these networks and these outlets to get our stuff out.
And they're all necessary too. I mean, I remember doing the Strong Kickstarter, and I was on a podcast like once a week, maybe like 2 or 3. I know there was one week I had like 4 podcasts that I was doing. Who's Cuzzo? I don't know who Facebook user is.
Facebook user, what up?
Either somebody from my family or your family.
But it's dope because, like you said, I dang near had like a tour. You know what I mean? Like, I released a 5-star campaign. We did a 2-week campaign. I had a podcast scheduled almost every night of that 2 weeks, and I told what's clapping? Hey, Kyron.
What's up, Kyron?
I told my wife, I'm like, look, like I'm damn near on tour this next 2 weeks. Like
that's how I feel.
This time, you know what I mean? This time. I have my calendar popping, and you know that came out of the pandemic, man. People being at home and being like, I'm not gonna let that stop me. Yeah. How else can I grind? How else can I get it? And now we got this on top of the con scene.
Yeah, because that Cook family. Who's from the Cook family? Who's from the Cook family? Is that Thomas?
Rob T.
Anyway,
or maybe they just say Cook. It's like
no, my other side of my family is the Cook family.
Oh, okay.
So there's the Stokes and the Cooks. But yeah, like it's funny because you know I took a big hit. Everybody took big hits, but for me, I had just started getting in the industry. I had just done like Dragon Con, and that was like a big con for me. And I was like, I had all these Comic Cons lined up, and it was like COVID hit, and I was like, and it just ruined everything. But it's amazing how we were able to rebound. I want to get let's. So we talked about how you got into comics and everything. Yep. You, sir, know a lot about comics. And as somebody who knows a lot about comics, I appreciate talking to people who know about comics. So we're gonna get a little geeky here, and that's all right.
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Please tell me he roasts you regularly on Facebook.
I don't roast. I don't roast. I
No,
just
He don't roast. He Javon. Let me tell you about. I got this list of people that when something comes out that's controversial, I got a few people that I know is going to be on the list that's thinking opposite of the herd.
That's not true.
And Javon's on that list of people that I know.
I don't know.
I know that he's going to have something partially controversial to say. And I'm okay with that. Partially controversial. And that's okay. I ain't got no problem with that. But I sometimes tend sometimes to be like, let me see what Javon's saying about this. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
Just because. And I see you, especially on Top 5 Live, I know how that show gets down.
Yeah.
And then you're in the comments most of the time on our show, you know.
I provide context for you guys.
For sure. Hey,
you'll be like, oh, what's the name of this character? And I know him off the bat. So I just
you do.
I tell everybody on this show, I have a useless superpower in that I have a ridiculously good memory when it comes to comic books.
Hey, we love it.
Only comic books.
We love when you're on there. We love when you're commenting on the show, like you said, because I'll be like, man, what's your Javon will answer for us. He'll give us the answer in the comments.
Yeah, because like you'll be like, oh man, what's the name of that character? And I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's such and such.
Yeah.
So you gotta tell me, what's your favorite superhero?
Oh man.
Your go-to favorite superhero.
It's so tough, right? I mean, there's just so many good ones. And then it changes too, as far as like, I don't know for you, but like when you're just in different seasons of your life, does it feel like there's a character that you're feeling more in that time?
Yeah. Absolutely. I've gone through phases. Like I'm a huge Wally West Flash fan.
Okay.
So there was a time, and I'm looking at the collection I have right now, my run of trades. Yeah. I was like, I want his entire run.
Yeah.
And most of it is available in trade format. So like I was like, all right, I got to do that. And then there was one period of time where I was big into Green Lantern. So yeah, I feel you. But you don't have like a go-to guy?
I mean, so right now I collect Venom. I would collect anything Venom. I don't really, but the crazy thing is I don't even read all of them. I just collect them. That's strange. I know you're looking at me like, why, bro? I don't even. Sometimes I don't even. I collect them for the cover art. I'm a big variant cover person, so I'm collecting for the cover part. If I'm going to what I'm reading right now, it's not even Marvel or DC. It's Boom Studios. I'm reading the Power Rangers joints right now.
Okay.
Just because they're telling something, like they're telling a story from my childhood, but in a different way, and it's kind of grown up a little, and it gets like that Shattered Grid story that they told. I don't know if you've heard of it or if you've seen it.
I've seen it. I didn't read the whole thing.
Is that the one with not the White Ranger? It's the
Green Ranger.
It's so he has a mix of both suits. Yeah, he has a mix of both suits, and it's a different reality where the Green Ranger never became good. He just stayed bad. He killed most of the Rangers, and now he owns. He's over top of the.
He had a new name. It was like Zeldon or something.
It's Dragon.
Dragon.
Yeah.
See, you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like I only saw that like once.
Yeah.
But I remember.
That's impressive, bro.
That's impressive. Just so dumb. Okay.
But when you're as a kid, you're like, Wolverine, Hawk, and then of course Spider-Man is always going to be a go-to just because of the Peter Parker aspect of it, right? It's not necessarily, for one, Spider-Man is so dynamic, right? He's got dope villains, check that off the list. Dope love interest, check that off the list. Dope social life that's interesting. Peter Parker is interesting, check that off the list. So great stories. So like Spider-Man's always going to be on that list.
There was never a period where I was consistently collecting Peter Parker Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
Like I get trades, you know what I mean? Like I'll read them when I'm That sounds so bad. I read them in the comic book stores. I read them back, back when I was in like the what do you call it? In the spinner. Like I'm
old school ones they used to have for me. It was
at the newsstand,
drugstore.
Yeah, I had the newsstand. I had a newsstand, like a really small newsstand, and it had like 2 spinners. And I would just read them there. He wouldn't care because I would literally walk out of there with like $30 worth of books.
Right. He was like, "Read. Go ahead and read, man."
Right. But I did like Spider-Man 2099.
Oh yeah, great.
That was one of my favorite
concept,
comic books.
Great, yeah.
I have the entire run somewhere in this house.
See, you a true comic book collector. You talking about I got the whole run.
That was back when I was doing single. I don't do floppies that much anymore. I don't do the little single comics. I'm a trade guy now. Like, so I was just reading I was just reading Venom. Donny Cates Venom.
Yeah.
I was just reading that. Love that run. Now I'm heavy into Immortal Hulk.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I don't know if you've ever read it, but
I haven't read it. No.
That's it's like a horror story with the Hulk in it. Like that's the best way I can explain it. Like the Hulk is a horror story, but that's so. Do you have a favorite comic?
I know I might know your opinion on this. I'm not sure. I feel like I've heard you comment when I said this. I'm not sure. I'm gonna put it out there.
Go ahead.
The first Civil War run.
Yeah.
The first story. You know how they got Civil War 2, they'll probably do 3, 4, all this other shit. The first Civil War run was like my first time ever buying a full run and all the books attached. Like solo books attached to it. So if I want to go, like if you're talking about like got me into like comic book collecting, it was that run right there. I was intrigued with that story. Just like you had the Fantastic Four breaking up. They're on different sides of the fence. You know what I mean. I loved that story, and it kind of got me more into like collecting full stories. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
No,
I was getting like I'm a big action figure dude. You know that. I'm heavy into action figures. I can remember buying the Toy Biz figures, and they would come with the 1 issues in there. I can, I'd read those and be like, cool. But I never like fully tapped in to like whole story arcs until then. And then I went back and like started reading more stuff. Like, oh shit, this is what a comic book full story arc is like. Let me read more of those.
Yeah, I believe I have Civil War, and then I was collecting everything that Civil War came out. Anything that around that time. In retrospect, like I've tried reading it again, and I'm like, it's not that great.
What is it? It came out in like what 2016?
I don't even remember.
Isn't it older than that?
Might be older than that.
Yeah, it's definitely older than that because it was.
Because I did buy that.
I remember buying it. Was it before the Iron Man movie or after?
I have a feeling that's before.
I think it was a little bit after the Iron Man movie.
So
Iron Man movie came out in 2008.
Yeah. Okay, so
that was a long time ago.
I'm probably like, anywhere between the ages of like 13 and 16, I guess, when that came out.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm saying? So
you just made me feel like super old. Like I just got like 2 grays just hearing you say that.
So that, you know what I mean? I wasn't really before then collecting books like that.
Right.
Until that point.
So you came into the industry when trades were like heavy.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking from when I came in, and I'm dating the hell out of myself, whatever. But it was like, trades weren't like a big deal. Like I remember finding out about trades, and I was like, wait a minute, I could get 20 comics right here.
Yeah.
It was like, like for me, it was like, and I've told this story before. Like, do you guys have BJ's or like Sam's Club?
Yeah. We got both.
BJ's is like Sam's.
Oh, do we?
BJ's is like Sam's Club. Back, I think there's still BJ's, but I used to go with my mom, and like while she was, shopping, they would have like 100 books wrapped up in plastic. Random behind books. Random. The most random titles you could think of. And I would get like 2 of them. And it would be like, how much? They would be like $25 each. And my mom would like, all right, go ahead. Like, and so I would literally get it and I'd rip that thing and and so I had my collection is super random. I would have like, I don't know if you ever heard like Death's Head, and then it was the Exterminators, and then it was like so that's how I know so much random crap about comic books. It's because of those like big, and I kept getting them. I swear I had to buy like 10 of them.
Nice.
But
hey, that's cool though. That's like a cool memory that you have.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? That's like that coloring book that I was talking about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It's like that one thing that you can remember. It's like, I don't know. It just kind of.
I can't remember when I started though. Like for the life of me, can't remember when I started reading comics.
I know.
That's the one thing I wish I knew.
Yeah, I know mine because it was grandma or mom would go to Winn-Dixie and I would go to Revco, and I would be right there, like you said, the spinner. And I was reading comics, and the comics that I started with, they were Marvel comics, but they were the Transformers, and they were the G.I. Joe ones first.
Nice.
Then I moved into Spider-Man, and I moved the X-Men, and I really got heavy into X-Men right as I'm like a teenager, and so all of that's when I know I was reading. And when I started getting into like I'm collecting this as a hobby and I really, really like it was when a friend of mine introduced me to Gen 13.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, see, that's dope, man.
Now, Jamari, I don't think you know this, but my dad had like a collection of books, and I think grandma sold them. And they were like,
still have those books.
That's not what I was told. I was told that
they must have sold them recently.
So somebody owed me books, is what you're saying. Okay, cool. It's good to know.
You know that Iron Man first appearance, Amazing Tales, was in there. Sergeant Fury,
I never saw him. I saw one book. I only saw one book of these mythical books, and it was the Death of Phoenix, X-Men number 137, Death of Phoenix.
Nice.
And I'm so mad at myself because I wore that book out. And in retrospect, like if I could go back, you know how much?
Yeah.
I just got mad. I just got mad real quick. I had it, and it was I remember it being in good condition, but I like wore it out because I read it so much.
Those books, they stayed in that basement.
But they were supposed to be for me, you know. They were supposed to be for me. My dad told me
every time that was the thing, and that made me so mad because they didn't want they would just sit there taunting me, but I couldn't. They were like, no, you can't go through the whole thing. I can only go when somebody
way back there. To Ohio, coming to get my books.
It's not in Ohio. They're not in Ohio. If they're still in the family, they're in LA.
Well, I'm talking to somebody. Tony, you're an X-Men fan, and you guys just did like a 2-week retrospective on X-Men.
Yeah, just kind of
what's your favorite X-Men? I feel like I know this question,
Cyclops.
But
another one.
I remember you saying that in the comments too. I remember. Yeah, man. Cyclops.
Jamari doesn't like Spider-Man.
I don't. I'm indifferent against him now.
But you know what though? People are seeing Cyclops for who he's always been right now, which I find funny because people are like, "Oh, I never liked Cyclops, but I like him now." Cyclops has always been militant.
I like New
Age. He's always been militant though.
Always.
He's always been militant. Go back and read it. I'm telling you, I read these books all the time. Cyclops has always been militant.
I will say that the TV show, the original '90s X-Men show, framed my opinion of him for a long time.
Cyclops has got a raw deal in multimedia, man.
Between that,
raw deal,
and something else bothered the hell out of
me.
When I was
the movie
House
version
of
was
M.
terrible.
We don't even, bro. The movie versions we can't even speak of.
Oh,
I'm not going to hold the movie versions against him.
The movie version is terrible.
Wrong.
Like they did the X-Men cartoon. What was it? The one where like it was called
X
was it Wolverine and the X-Men?
Yeah.
Where like Cyclops like was disillusioned or something, and I'm just sitting there like
they always gotta fight. They always gotta find a way to get him out of the way for Wolverine, and that it pisses me off. I'm like, forget Wolverine, bro. We don't. He's a cool character, but like Cyclops is the leader of the team, bro. We don't need somebody coming in trying to be the leader just because people like him.
Tony, man.
Get out of here, bro. He is the leader. Wolverine is reckless as hell. Only thinks about himself.
I've always thought Wolverine was massively overrated.
Well, there's a certain point in the comics where, because there was a while where he was the loose cannon and everything like that.
Yeah.
But then there was like a certain point where obviously they know readers love Wolverine, and so they started making him like a leader.
Yeah, well, they do.
Like he literally went.
They do that, though, right?
But that's what I'm saying.
With Venom, they do that with. I mean, it's like they like force it.
We love the redemption arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they force it to you. It's like in the new X-Men movies. Like Mystique is now the leader of the X-Men because of the actress. Like, come on, bro. Just because she's dope in Hunger Games don't mean that we need her as the lead in an X-Men movie playing a character that is an assassin who you're telling me now is leading the X-Men. Bro,
now is the moral authority. Yeah.
We don't that is trash, bro. That is trash writing. That is just pandering to what you think.
It kills the history behind that character.
It's horrible. Well, that's horrible.
They've never. I keep saying this. They've never had a great X-Men movie.
No,
like X-Men as a team, they have never had a great X-Men.
They've had fun ones. There's some fun
like
X-Men movies.
First Class was fun.
Fun movie.
The first X-Men movie was okay, up until it gets a little iffy there.
Yeah.
The second one was okay. Once again, there's a lot of iffy parts in there.
Yeah.
But we have not had, like, if you ask somebody a great Avengers movie, they got 4 to choose from. And 3 of them are spectacular. And honestly, I like the one that people complain about. So
yeah. Right.
Do you have a favorite Avengers though? Do you have a favorite Avenger?
You talking about like a movie or you talking about member?
In general.
Member?
Yeah.
Hawkeye all day.
Really?
Yeah. Hawkeye.
You might be the first Hawkeye fan I've ever heard.
Yep. Hawkeye all day.
So you were in heaven when they did the TV show.
Hawkeye is the dude that you can almost count on who has no powers, but he's gonna survive. Right? He's gonna survive. He survived. He's a survivor, bro. And I love that about Hawkeye. I love that part about him. Like Age of Ultron, anytime they do like a spin or anything of that, who's the one that made it? Hawkeye. You got gods, you got monsters, you got super soldiers, but this dude with his bow and arrow, he's the one that made it. And he's the one that gives a chance at the end to make it pop.
I respect that.
I'm going Hawkeye.
So you heard that they almost killed him in that movie, right?
In what? Which one?
In Age of Ultron.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they almost killed him. They almost killed him. Like they from my understanding, there were discussions, there were script versions where Hawkeye dies.
See, that would have been the dumbest thing they could have done. I'm glad they didn't do that. Because he always survives,
the show.
Bro.
You enjoyed the show.
I did enjoy the show. The show, I did like the show. Yeah, the show was dope. Just because I like the character.
I was gonna say that was very that was very unsure.
I hear some gripes there.
Yeah.
No. There's no. I wasn't sure if Javon was asking me that question because he didn't like the show.
No, I like the show.
I was testing that out. I was like, if I say yes, is he about to
Nah, you know if I'm gonna get at you. There's certain things that I just did not like. but not very few MCU things I just didn't like.
What up, Ryan?
Hey, right. Ryan, what's going on, man?
The Clapback Kid is in the hizzy.
What's good? What's good? We had him on a few weeks ago. That was fun.
And he's got a nice little Kickstarter running right now.
Oh, okay.
Ryan, go ahead and put that link up in there.
Yeah,
I'll give you a shameless plug, my guy.
Yes, put the link in. I'll throw the link in. Yeah, I mean, I've liked pretty much everything that the MCU has done.
Yeah.
Even Thor: Love and Thunder entertained me to a degree.
It's a fun movie.
It was fun.
That's the thing. They don't all gotta be bangers, right? They don't all gotta be in game or like people are spoiled right now. They want these they want to come out of the theater like I laughed, I cried. There was just they all ain't gotta be that. Like there's levels to this ish.
That's the weakness now of fandom in general, particularly when it comes to shows. Is that we are in this, everything has to be the absolute best thing you've ever seen, or it's trash. There is no in between. Nobody can just be, I enjoyed myself. I had fun. And we pick at things, and there's this rush to be the person who's the contrarian.
It's so sad because
who can find the interesting angle to talk about the thing.
You think about the 80s and the 90s, bro. There's some obscure poor movies, right? But they're just dope because you didn't go in thinking let me get wrong. There is the 80s and 90s have the best movies in my opinion. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is there are some obscure ones, right? Some stuff. If it would have came out now, you'd have been like, bro, what? But you weren't going expecting everything to be. It's gotta blow my mind and be so good, right? It's like you just went in and you're like, that's a fun movie. I enjoyed that movie. Hey, I might watch that movie again because I enjoyed it, right? It's nothing. It don't have to be some crazy thing, right?
Listen, I'm an 80s baby and a 90s kid. I grew up with awful comic book movies.
I'm not talking about comic book movies.
No, this is all I'm talking about right now. I grew up with truly awful comic book movies. Yeah. Truly awful ones that some of them I watched and I hold dearly.
Yeah.
But now what we have now is miles and miles better.
Miles, for sure. Sure.
And so when I watch something like She-Hulk, which is literally the comic book ripped off and put on the screen, and people are complaining about it, in my mind, I want to be like, go back and watch The Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
If you ever have a moment, go back and watch The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, or I don't remember The Death of the Incredible Hulk with Thor, who had the Viking looking Thor.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've seen pictures of that.
Who's sorry. My wife's asking for the keys. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
I grew up with Steel, Catwoman.
Catwoman was bad.
Meteor Man, which I love, but it wasn't good. But I love Meteor Man. I will forever love it.
You love the movie, though, right?
Right. I appreciate the movie.
You had a good time. You had a good time going in and watching it. You weren't going in and being like, bro, this better be the end game, or it ain't worth watching, or this better be. Come on now.
The DC movies.
DC just has a.
They're not fun. That's the difference. That's the difference between Marvel and DC. Most of the DC movies just aren't fun. Well, the first Wonder Woman movie was fun.
It was fun. Mm-hmm. I thought Shazam was fun.
Shazam was fun. Aquaman tried to be fun.
Aquaman tried to be too fun in certain parts.
They tried to be three different movies.
To be like 40 movies.
Yeah, it was too much. But the Justice League wasn't fun.
No, yeah.
Justice League was depressing, especially the uncut Snyder version of it. The Snyder version, if you were on suicide alert before it and you watched that movie, you probably needed somebody to check in on, because you probably felt like I could end it any day, right?
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman was.
You're probably gonna rip my head off for this.
Why? Did you like Batman versus Superman?
Nope. Suicide Squad #1 was good until the end of the movie.
I was entertained by
the plot
Suicide Squad,
was trash. Okay, if they were doing a mission to go in and just evacuate, what's her name? You
Waller.
know, Javon, come on,
Waller.
Yeah. If that was the mission, that would have been a decent movie, bro. They had to go further.
They had some moments, but I get what you're saying on.
If they would have scaled the plot back to where they're not facing this
godlike, I got you.
Especially when you got a supermodel.
I think Will Smith did a great job as Deadshot. Was Will Smith Will Smith? Yes, but I liked him as Deadshot.
I mean, but the whole, what are we, some kind of Suicide Squad? I just was like, oh my god.
There was forced, yes. There was definitely there was forced moments in the movie, but I can say I've watched that movie a few times.
I've never watched it again.
See, but that's okay. I enjoyed it. It's not the best. Deadshot's one of my favorite characters, so it's just nice to see him on the screen.
Okay. But see, I get that.
With that is, I will put that movie on. If that movie comes on the television, I'm going to probably watch 20 minutes of it at least.
I haven't even done that.
See,
now the sequel I liked, but I haven't
watched it. I still ain't watched it.
Really?
Oh wow. No. Okay.
I'll tell you why I haven't watched it.
It is a better movie.
It's not because I have any beef or anything like that. DC just has put that taste in my mouth to where it's like I don't feel obligated to go see that shit right away. Right?
I got you.
And now it's at a place where it's like that book that you put on the table and you're like, I'm gonna read that eventually, but then like other books get on top of it because there's like we're getting fed so much, right? Like between like Star Wars and Marvel, like it's hard to keep up already, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just,
I get you. It's just under there. Like I plan
That's
on
how
watching
I feel.
it.
I agree. I feel the same, which is why I'm not. I mean, I'm gonna go see Black Adam, but I'm not like rushing to go see it. The week
Rock
it's
acts, out. He just needs to act.
The Rock has already spoiled like the one thing that I probably would have been excited to see. He's already told us all what's about to happen, so I have no real reason to rush to go see it.
I just want to see him. Just act a little. Just act a little, bro. Don't be the same dude that's been in the last 7 of your movies. You ain't got to be that dude.
He's not a traditional 80s actor, though. That's what
he's a commodity now.
Well,
you're right.
All right. Yeah, I know you. So I know you got to go. You got to go a little early because you got family responsibilities. And I'm not. I do want to do this one last thing.
Yeah, man.
For every show.
You ain't gotta rush. Yeah.
I know, but I want to make sure we get this in. So every show, at the end of every show, we do a top 5. Okay. And the guest gets to give their top 5 of whatever it is we discuss. So
I know how you.
And I never know what the top 5 is until I come up with it. So don't feel like I'm trying to get you. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go. This is a good one. Top 5 favorite 90s cartoons.
There's a lot to go from. And then you gotta get in that place where you're not mixing like 80s and 90s together. Right.
So favorite, not best, favorite.
Favorite. Okay. I'm gonna go Street Sharks.
Wow. Okay.
Gargoyles. Spider-Man animated series.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men animated series. Mm-hmm. And Batman animated series.
Oh, you did yours quick.
Boom.
Now I know we've done this list before, so I don't remember what I picked, so mine's gonna be a little different. Jamari, you ready?
Looking for one more. Go ahead and.
My guy got the pen out.
I know.
Oh yeah, no, I have to do. I have to because kind of gets my brain going with this.
All right, here we go. Go ahead.
I got my 4. I'm trying to find what my last one is. Gargoyles is always on my list. Gargoyles is always on there. I always have to have Batman on. I'm one of those weird people that I think Gargoyles in some ways was better than Batman.
Okay, come on, give us
the original X-Men series. I really, really, really love that. It's just you can't get it out. Cowboy Bebop, I count.
Okay,
because it is a '90s show, and Pirates of Dark Water.
Okay,
I think if I were a billionaire and I could take my money and do something ridiculously frivolous, I would reboot Pirates of Dark Water either as a new era cartoon or a live action show.
Nice.
Hi, Auntie. That's our Auntie.
Auntie.
That's our Auntie.
What's up, Auntie?
All right, let's see. I'm gonna do a different one. I'm gonna do my favorite obscure ones. So
okay,
because y'all have already you've already said some favorite. These are the ones where I got excited when it came on.
Okay.
Bionic 6.
Okay.
Wait, no, is this 90s or 80s?
Bionic 6, you
No, I'm thinking the one in my head. The one in my head. The one I want to say, but I feel like I might be jumping the gun. I won't use it, but I'll say it. I won't use it. I'll say oh man. I loved Captain N. I loved Captain N.
Okay. There's so many good ones too. I mean,
I know. That's why I'm not using the same one. You guys have already said them, so I mean, and they were on my list. I got no problem saying this, man. I love Muppet Babies.
Oh yeah.
That's a really good one, but that's more 80s. I always associated that more so 80s. That's definitely 80s.
All right. I'll take it back. So I can say like Voltron. Voltron is 80s too, though, right?
Yeah, Voltron is 80s. Voltron,
G.I. Joe, TMNT.
G.I. Joe.
I mean, there's been a 2000.
No, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like borderline.
That's probably 88. That probably started.
That's like
it's borderline. 89. Yeah.
I was gonna say
one of mine that I always loved. Technically, is 80s.
I don't know if you remember that one. Turbo Teen,
80s though.
I think that's 80s though. That's what I was saying.
That's 80s.
What did I say? I said Bionic 6, Captain N. There was this show. I don't know if y'all remember it called Wish Kid. I love the heck out of it,
Wish
man.
Kid. That was Macaulay Culkin.
Love that one. Yes, I love that one.
Yeah, 90s.
Darkwing Duck.
I
was a big Darkwing Duck fan. Huge Darkwing Duck fan. And then I'll go with my all-time favorite 90s show. I will watch it to this day. I just watched it last weekend. Justice League.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I love Justice League. Justice League Unlimited. Same show.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna quick test on you. Either of you remember a show called King Arthur and the Knights of Justice?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When they had the swords on their chest, and then they pulled their chest out, they pulled the sword out his chest. Like they had their weapons on their chest.
Essentially, it's like an American isekai because it's a bunch of guys on a football team are brought into the past to replace the original King Arthur Knights to fight.
They all had like magical armor. Yeah, I remember that. Armor, what's that's like the other one. Well, I don't know if this is
Visionaries.
Yes, Visionaries.
Visionaries.
An honorable mention for me was the Mighty Ducks cartoon where they were actually ducks.
Yep, I've seen that.
Oh yeah, they were like superheroes, right?
They were like superheroes. They were from another planet. They got stuck on Earth. They fought in like the hockey gear.
Yeah.
Oh, I gave you SWAT cats.
Yeah. What was the mummy one? There was a mummy. What was the mummy? There was like
Mummies Alive.
Yeah, and they
I've never seen that.
This is my dumb superpower is obscure 80s and 90s shows.
What's the cartoon with it's like 5 guys, they're like samurais and they all had like different color armor.
Ronin Warriors, bro.
Ronin Warriors.
Ronin Warriors. Yes, love that one.
Which was an anime.
Centurions.
Yeah.
I love Centurions.
And then I gotta go and then if we're getting out of like if we're gonna get out of like just like like superhero type stuff, like I grew up on that, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls hit. Shoot,
that was the birth of Cartoon Network's independent stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was like after. That was a little like I like that stuff like after it came out.
Rugrats.
That makes sense.
Ed and
Rugrats, I was there for.
That kind of like them cartoons were fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Dude, I was there. I remember when Ren and Stimpy first debuted. I literally remember it going, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, Arnold. Boom.
Actually, you know what cartoon I like? It's not a 90s cartoon, but it has very 90s cartoon sensibilities. Me and Jamari are, and I know Jamari is going to be like, absolutely. So I'm going to say that Invader Zim.
Oh, yes.
Invader Zim. I know it's not a 90s cartoon. It has so many of the same sensibilities as those cartoons.
Invader Zim is in a class on its own. But it is
Danny Phantom.
I love Danny Phantom. I love Danny Phantom.
Danny Phantom was a dope cartoon.
Oh yeah, you could have put that on back in '95. And
that would have been huge.
Right now.
It could be and for real, it could be a movie. Somebody could take that and turn that into a movie.
I'm surprised they haven't.
Danny Phantom was out.
Here's one best '90s cartoon villain.
No, you lost me. I don't have the memory to remember that.
This one's easy for me.
I mean, there's just so many.
I can't.
This is easy for me.
I don't know.
Xanatos.
Oh yeah, that dude.
Who?
The guy
from
Gargoyles.
Gargoyles. Okay.
The business.
Yeah, I just didn't hear you. I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, there's a lot of them, bro. I mean, I tell you one that never gave up. Plankton, SpongeBob. There you go.
All right, so before you go, we got the website going. Is there any projects you want to tell us about? Any places you're going to be that you want to let everybody know?
Well,
plug your
5-star issue 2 campaign will take place by the end of this month. I don't know the date for sure.
Okay.
We're waiting on, FSK. We're moving some things. We got books coming out. We got books getting shipped. We want to make sure that people are happy with what they're getting. Packages are where they're supposed to be before we announce that date. But we have like 20 packages that we still want to get out, and we know that they're in the mail system before we release that date. But 5-star issue 2 Kickstarter will be jumping. It'll be a 2-week campaign, and then after that, the next month, my boy Fish is dropping that Green Zone issue 2 and 3 Kickstarter. So FSK is going to be busy as usual. 2 back-to-back campaigns.
Right. Awesome. I'm telling you, we've talked about this quite a bit. We joked about how we should do one big indie crossover, but I was just like, the logistics of that just made my head hurt. Like,
it would be hard.
Oh my God.
So first off, you can't be in any one person's universe. It's got to be a middle ground here.
It's not even that. It's who's gonna write it, how money gets split up. That's the stuff I'm thinking about. I ain't even thinking about or nothing like that. I'm just like, who gets to draw? Money. How does money get split up? It would be insane. But we want to thank you.
And you would, but oh man, no.
Go ahead. Say what you gotta say.
I was just gonna say everybody's always like, y'all should cross over. Like comic book fans or like but it's like you said, there's more that kind of goes into it, and then that of course we would love to do crossovers. I'd love to cross over with everybody, but it comes down to most of our times are already pretty strapped. I'm like you just said, you got a con next weekend. You're thinking about more. You got your show. You got your book. I got my stuff. Like there's just so much going on already. You know what I mean?
There's no big money machine pushing us, guys. Like we small money.
Great.
I mean, yeah, it'd be nice.
It'd be
and
wonderful.
Everybody, and I'm pretty sure you got a full-time job too. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so but we do appreciate you having on being on, and I'm pretty sure you and I will be talking again soon at some point.
We are inviting guests back to 5-Star Fridays, so expect that invite.
I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting. Just don't let it
we
be
did a
on
while
the day where I got it.
We weren't going to do guests. We were trying to separate ourselves from some of the other podcasts. You know, everybody's got guests, and we had 4 hosts, and we was trying to do something different with just talking about like how we do. We break down X-Men one week. This week we're doing Shazam. Tomorrow 6 o'clock.
All right. There you go. Y'all heard that.
But we're gonna start getting guests on and have a little time at the beginning where they can promote their stuff, and then they talk about that character with us. So
I don't need to promote. I just want.
Man,
talk.
You on there, bro? You in there? You in there? Right, you on the top of the list?
I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank you for coming on. As always, fsknow.com. Go and get your 5-star. Be there to support the Kickstarter. You know we will. Shout out to Ryan. Going to check his Kickstarter at www.monatheauthor.com. Moana the author.com. Yes, y'all, I can read. I promise you I can read.
It was sketchy there for a second.
As always, thank y'all for stopping by. Just letting y'all know, next week there will be no show. I will be traveling to Baltimore for Baltimore Comic-Con. So if you are in the Baltimore, Maryland area or plan on going, please stop by. Come say hi. Hey, listen, as long as you troll me after purchasing a book or print, I do not care. We could troll all day. But yes, y'all have a great weekend, and thank you for stopping by Stoked Podcast, Creative Talk with Creative People. Y'all have a good weekend. Love y'all.